Okay, in this video we're going to learn a couple of different things. We're going to learn about backdrops and how to use them and make them. We're also going to learn about broadcasting, or having sprites secretly talk to each other and tell each other what to do, as well as secretly talking to the stage or the background. And we're going to learn a couple of new looks that you can use in your stories or projects. So we're going to start out, we have two little sprites here. I have this little guy and this little guy, which you've seen this guy before. He learned how to talk. So we're going to start, we have this really boring plain background. And what I want to do in this little scenario is I want to have my little sprite walk across the screen, pop back up over here in a new location, and have this little sprite be there to greet our sprite. So first of all, let's have a place for this little guy to walk across. So if you want to add backgrounds to your stage, you're going to click on the stage. So the new backdrops are made down here. There's a library of backdrops, which is what we're going to use right now, but you can also create your own backdrop, just like you can create your own costumes in Scratch. You can upload something, so if you have an image that you want to work with that you downloaded from the web or created yourself, you can upload that, or you can take a picture from the camera. So for right now, I'm going to choose a backdrop from the library. And for this, I'm going to select an outdoors scenario, because what I actually want to do is I want to have our sprite be on the beach, and he's going to walk across the beach, but he is actually headed eventually to the pool. So you can see here I actually have couple of different backdrops. I'm going to get rid of them. So if you want to see the different backdrops that you have, you're going to click on the stage, you're going to click on backdrops, and then if you want to add a new one to this list that you can choose from, then just click on the new backdrop and it will add them in for you. It's just like working with sprites and costumes, so you remember we have all these different costumes. So the same principle applies for changing backgrounds as for changing costumes. So let's go back to scripts. So this is the pool, which I don't want to start out at the pool. And I also don't want my sprites in the middle of the pool. As you can see, they're in the middle of the pool. So let's bring this switch backdrop to Boardwalk over. And I clicked on it so that it shows up as my backdrop. But if you remember, we usually start our scripts with a flag. So I'm going to put, when the flag is clicked, switch to my Boardwalk backdrop, and that's what I want to happen at the beginning. Okay, so now I'm going to add some movement and whatnot to my main sprite here. This is the main character of my story. He's going to walk across the boardwalk, and then he's going to meet this little character at the pool. So we're going to do a when the flag is clicked, right? So at the beginning. And I want him to be sure that he starts in his current location over here on this end of the boardwalk, because I want him to move from left to right across the screen. So I'm going to have him go to that position, which is the current default, so minus 135, minus 40. And then I'm going to have him glide across the screen to about, let's say, x to 18. And we'll leave the y alone so that he stays on a straight line across the screen. So let's just test that out and see how it works. Oh, that's a little fast, so I'm going to change that to 3 seconds, so it's a little bit slower. Okay, so now he's gliding relatively slowly across the screen. Okay, so he's going to do that, and then I think I'm going to have him put on his hat. So I think he will put his green hat on, and that's going to cause somewhat of a problem, isn't it? Because I don't want him to put his hat on until he gets to the end, and right now he has his hat on the whole time. So if you remember, we have this switch costume. So I'm going to put that at the beginning so that he is without his hat. And he's going to put his hat on to go to the pool, which makes total sense. Okay, now we have a problem. We have this little character hanging out, and I don't want her to be there yet. So there's these little things called show and hide. So we want this little guy to be hidden at the beginning, and then we'll figure out when we're going to show it. So let's start our script. So our little dude and our other sprite is not there, so it's hidden, which is great and exactly what we want to do. Okay, so now let's go back to this, and we have our short little script where he glides across the screen. Well, I want him to go a little bit further after in a minute, but at this point, once he's gone through his costume change and put his hat on, I want him to be at the pool. I want the background to change, and I want that to happen automatically. The best way to do that is to use this little tool right here called Broadcast. So there's a message 1 in there. You can leave that in there. I'm going to make a new message called Pool so that I know that this is the message to tell the background to change to the pool. So I'm going to go back to my stage, and I have a when the flag is clicked, I start with the boardwalk, but how do I tell it when to change to the pool? Well, if you look, there's a when I receive option. So this works really well for having things happen automatically on someone else's cue. So we're going to put that pool message in here. So we typed in pool for the other message, so we're going to type in pool for this one. I'm going to click OK. And what do we want to happen when I receive pool? Well, for backdrops, their backdrop is sort of like a costume, so it's under looks. So we want to switch the backdrop to the pool backdrop when this little sprite gets to the end. And then the other thing I'm going to add is I'm going to have this sprite go back to its negative location. So it's going to look like it kind of goes across the screen. And we may have to change that a little bit depending on how it looks. So let's see what it looks like right now. Puts his hat on, and then he's at the pool. And that happens really quickly, which is fine. We could, if we wanted to, put a little bit of a wait in here. There's also a broadcast in wait, which will wait until the backdrop changes if you want to try that. The other thing I noticed is that our little guy shows up pretty quickly. So if I want him to glide just a little bit further, maybe to 225, so that he's kind of partially through the screen before he shows up over here. I'm going to do the same with that X. So he glides across, and then he shows up. And that didn't really work very well, so I think we'll take our weight off. I kind of like him showing up, but I don't particularly like his location. So I'm going to put him up here where there's actually, you know, some place for him to stand. And that means I'm going to change his Y to about 89. So let's change this to 89. And let's change our X to he's at minus 184. So that way he'll be in a better location for this new backdrop. So let's see if he looks good. Glides across the screen. And he's a little off, so let's make this minus 175. Just put him a little bit closer. That's a little bit better. And so you can see that sometimes you have to just kind of try different things until you get his positioning just right. Okay, so now he's at the pool. That looks pretty good. But our other little sprite hasn't shown up. We've already broadcast a message and we told the stage to change to the pool, but we didn't tell our little character to show up. So we have our show over here, but it's not connected to anything. So let's change this, and we're going to do when I receive. We're going to type pool in, since that's what we used before. So she should show up as well. So it glides across the screen. And she's in the middle of the pool, and I don't really like that. I also don't like the fact that she is facing the wrong way. not looking at our little sprite. So I probably want her to be maybe up here somewhere. So that's around 66,111. So I can actually put that in. So I just put a go-to block, and she's at X48 and Y123. And I'm going to change her costume a little bit. She's got all these little costumes, but I want her actually to be facing the other way. So I'm just going to turn her. I flipped her left to right. There's a little button up here for that. So now when she shows up, she should be in the right place, and everything should work out very nicely. So let's click the flag. Our little guy walks across the screen, puts his hat on, is at the pool, and this little girl is there. So you could add things. So for example, it might be nice if she said hello when he shows up. And then you could actually have them have a little conversation.